Skinny little bird legs.
Well, they were bigger before you ran the relay.
All right. Go.
Welcome to Lone Star Saturday. We are on a brand new YouTube channel.
Yes.
And before we even get started, we want to remind you, would you like us? That would be very friendly. And also you can subscribe, and there is a little place that you can notify down there that says, I want to hear about other shows, and we'll send you a little notification by a bell.
There may be some who are on Facebook right now trying to find us. See, so
There you
we
go.
hope they can just switch right over.
Well, and they can.
That'd be tough when you say switch today. You never know.
Oh, here he goes. He has to go there.
All right.
He has to go.
We welcome you to this great Saturday in San Antonio, and Clayton Perry's with us again. He just came in from a very strenuous run for the veterans, and we know.
Absolutely.
And our special guest is Steve Allison, who is the newest member of the Republican Party at the legislative group in Austin. He replaced the seat left by Joe Strauss Jr.
Yes.
So, Steve, welcome, Mr.
Thank
Allison.
you.
We welcome you. And he's a graduate of Texas Christian University, took his law training at the University of Houston and came to San Antonio right after that. And we're sure glad you did.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And you've been on the board of VIA, and you've done a lot of other.
Been on the VIA board and was on the Alamo High School board for 20
We
years.
missed each other on that VIA board because I
We
was
did.
there, I think, like in the mid 80s. And then after that, you must have come on after me.
After that, I just went off, I guess, 2 years ago.
Wow. That's
And,
great.
You know, Mark Witherell, who works with us on the broadcast, he is the security chief for
Yes.
VIA. You probably had something to do with that too, I would imagine, when you were on the board.
He was there. We were
Yes.
together, yeah.
And so, and you just finished a special
Okay,
run.
so what's the deal here?
Okay, well,
Tell us the truth here, Clayton Berry, District 10.
I'm sorry that I'm dressed
Stand up and
short.
show-
All
show
right,
everybody.
my skinny little bird legs. But anyway, we had our first annual Veterans 5K
Very
run
cool.
down at Blossom Athletic Center. It was joint. It was put on jointly by John Courage and myself,
Wonderful.
District 9 and District 10. And we had over 2,000 people registered.
Wow.
I'm telling you, all of them showed up this morning. It was
Wow.
a huge, big crowd. So I was there. I started the race and, got everybody going and pumped up and off and running. And then by the time everybody was through, they were already starting to finish. So I stood there at the finish line.
They thought you'd finish.
They thought I came
Yeah.
in first, but I
That's
just
hilarious.
stayed there. I stayed at the start and finish line and brought them all across the finish line and congratulated them. They all got a medal.
Wow.
And it was a great turnout. And I was really surprised by how many veterans were actually out there. And John Courage and myself are veterans, so
Your
we wanted
Air
to
Force,
do that.
what is he?
He's Air Force as well. He was in security police back then.
Interesting.
And he was actually a dog handler. So, and I was a civil engineer, and it was just great that we put that on together.
Well, you know what they say about those dog handlers.
What's that?
It's rough business.
Well, you wanted to color that humor, didn't you? So
But
we,
I just wanted to add, this is my first show back
since
since the election.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been several weeks now,
Yeah,
and it's good to be back here. It's good to be back here.
And
Well, you're
speaking
back here when I'm back here because I haven't got a month.
Yeah.
Speaking
Wow.
of election, we want to say congratulations for you winning
Thank you.
the seat vacated by Joe Strauss Jr.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
That was a big deal because he had that seat for a very long time.
He did. He did. He did a great job, I think.
and we know that you won't actually go back into session for another 2 years, but there are a lot of things that are still pending that you want to take care of.
They will. I think they'll be able to follow up over during the interim. I served on the public education and public health committees, and I anticipate we're going to do follow up during the interim. So it
What are you
stays
going to
busy.
do on this public education? We've been talking about this a little bit off the air, but people need to know because we all care about education for our kids.
Well, that was the focus, really, the legislative session this go round. School finance was the number one issue in our district
Yes.
as I campaigned, and tied into that was property tax reform. And I think we did a great job on school finance and
great.
education reform. There'll be some initial school finance tax relief, 8 cents per $100 valuation in the first year, and then 13 cents in the second year. And then the anticipation would go back next session, continue that path. But equally important is the reforms. So it's not just how we fund education, but how we provide it. So I think
Right.
there's some very meaningful education reforms in House Bill 3, the education bill. That's been very, very helpful here in San Antonio.
And you're trying
We
to
need it.
prevent in Texas from what's happening in California and states like that. Because,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's such a mess out there.
Been a
And
common,
that's
common thread.
it's a
Don't
terrible thing.
Californiaize our Texas.
Well, the funny thing is, honestly, Representative, I got to tell you, I grew up in California. The education was wonderful there. Now it's like a complete flip-flop. It's such a nightmare. The education is bad. The environment is bad. We're hoping that San Antonio downtown is not going to become like City Hall in LA. What are you going to do about that, Clayton?
Well, let me first start off and say, and thank you very much for that reform and working on that at the legislature. But coupled with that, what happened this last week? Well, on Monday, San Antonio City Council, that I've been fighting for over 2 years, we finally got a homestead exemption for San
Yes.
Antonio homeowners.
Wow.
We have never had a homestead exemption, and it started off at the smallest amount, but it's a start.
Yes.
And that, coupled along with the state, with property tax help, it's going to add up. It's going to add up in this next round of appraisals and taxes for this next year. But I am very, very proud of the fact that I've been working on this for over 2 years. This is the third budget cycle that I've been involved with, and the prior 2 budget cycles, I only had one other person going along with me, Greg Brockhouse.
Right.
It passed unanimously this year.
Wow,
So
that's
I'm very, very
amazing.
proud of that, and very excited about that for our homeowners, because we do have people that are struggling on fixed incomes, that kind of thing, that this homestead exemption will apply to all homeowners. Whether you're over 65 and your taxes are frozen, you'll still get that homestead exemption,
Yay.
as well as
It
everybody
may
else.
not be much this year, but it's going to continue to go up.
As John Courage and myself are going to lead the charge again to continually try to increase that percentage every year to
Now,
try
while
to
you're
give
doing
back
that,
more.
I'm going to tell people how to protect their homes. You know how they can protect their homes? By getting good insurance from John Lester Insurance. And if you want to find about all the aspects of John Lester Insurance, it's really simple. You just go to lesterinsure1.com. Now, maybe you say, but BQ, I don't have a home. I have an apartment. You can get renter's insurance from John Lester. You can get car insurance from John Lester. You can get boat insurance from John Lester. I'll bet you can even insure legs like Clayton.
Boy, that'd be hard to do.
But all you need to do is call John Lester. Now, here is the phone number in San Antonio, which is 210-541-9771. Or if you're one of our listeners that's out of the area, 24/7, 888-390-8095. There you go.
We know that a lot of people may be joining us for the first time on the YouTube today.
It's on the YouTube
And
channel.
we have been on Facebook for the last couple of months or 3, and we are very pleased at the response we've had. We've had far more response through the internet setup than we did on radio, and that means that many more people.
Millions of you out there will be listening.
But we also,
But you gotta
I like to go back
subscribe.
into history. You're a historian, Steve. You love history.
I love history.
It was on this date. The Kid from Lubbock, recorded in 1952. Peggy Sue. Who was that?
Buddy Holly.
Yeah, Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
And also, happy birthday to Slim Pickens, a guy who lived in Wimberley for many, many years.
Now, do you remember the famous movie he was in?
Yes,
Which one was it?
Dr. Strange.
That's correct, Mundo.
Born in 1919. And this guy, people don't realize who wrote Stardust.
Was
Hoagie
that, I
Carmichael.
was just going to say Hoagie
He
Carmichael.
was born in 1941, and Gary Busey.
Hoagie Carmichael wasn't born in 1941. He had to be born
No, I said
earlier than that.
1914.
Okay,
Yeah.
but here's the deal. Hoagie, did you want to know a trivia fact about Hoagie
No,
Carmichael?
I don't.
You'll love this
No,
one.
I don't.
I'm telling him anyway. Do you know that Ian Fleming wanted to try to use him for the original cast in Bond? He thought about Hoagie Carmichael for Bond. Isn't that interesting? Most people don't know that.
He would have been a better
trivia.
Q. Really? Okay. And then Gary Busey, who, of course, He played the part of Buddy Holly. in the
Yes, he
movie.
did, and I called him Gary Abuser when I actually interviewed him.
And,
Because I was telling Steve that he came on my radio show and he said, "Oh, Mama, you smell like bacon."
well, I had him on my TV show.
Did
and
he
said,
say that
"Yeah,
to you?"
you're a real big beef here." So Dan Deerdorf, born in 1949. You remember Dan Deerdorf?
I do.
Who
And-
he?
and,
He's a football player for
Good, great all-pro football player.
I knew
It
that.
wasn't Sonny Gibbs, but he was. That's inside story.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How about Barry Gibbs?
Also in baseball, John Lester, he lives and dies with the Astros. And baseball is his passion. But in 1897, the Chicago Cubs set a baseball record scoring 36 runs in one game.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
And who did it?
The Cubs.
Yeah, but who were the stars at that point?
I
Anybody
wasn't
that you-
alive. I wasn't covering it, so I can't tell you. It was 1897.
Yeah, but you know all that trivia. That's why I'm
But I
asking
will tell you
you
that in 1941, I at one time was in the dugout with him. Joe DiMaggio set his record for 46 of 52 games in a row of base hits.
What are you guys laughing about? Just spit it out.
John,
I
what's
said,
to say?
you want to know who did it? I said it was the winning team
The
that
winning
did it.
team.
Oh, but I'm
So, but Joe
we
DiMaggio.
need to have a drum riff for this show.
We need a lot of things for this show.
We do, but we're
Steve
also on a
Allison.
new YouTube channel, by the way.
Yeah, and by the way, hit like if you like it. If you
Would
don't
you
like it,
please?
just don't hit anything.
No, just hit Gary. But would you
No.
just hit like, please, and then subscribe so that we can send you a little bell, let you know. when we've got
Now
new
let's go to
shows.
another subject. We know that San Antonio has become more as a sanctuary city where you've been going, all the things that happened.
That happened?
And there's a story that came out of an unnamed source, but they had 350 refugees in the center downtown. And so they have asked for city employees to go over and volunteer. Well, 6 of them went, only 6 people for 350 refugees.
Wow.
And the most uncontrollable were the refugees or visitors from the Congo. The Belgian
Coming
Congo.
through San Antonio. How does that happen,
Well,
Clay?
let me tell you. Number one, we are not a sanctuary city,
Thank you for clearing
Yeah.
that.
and well,
Or officially.
there's criteria. There's actually criteria set by the federal government as how if they classify you as a
Right.
sanctuary city. We don't fit that criteria, and so we're still getting federal funds, grants, and that kind of thing. That that does not apply to us. So this thing that's happening in San Antonio right now, I blame the federal government. It is not San Antonio. The federal government is collecting these folks down at the
Wow.
border.
Mhm.
They're putting on buses, hundreds, thousands. I think we've processed 14,000 already through San Antonio. And they're just busing them to San Antonio and dropping them off at the bus
That's
station.
true.
So
But
there's
where
nothing
are they
we can do
coming-
about
I
it.
mean, when you think about, I'm asking our wonderful state rep and of course our city councilman here, when you think about the southern border, you think, of course, you think of Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Venezuela, even maybe Cuba, but Africa and Bangladesh
Yeah,
and
well-
China, how is that happening?
They're getting here some kind of way. And I point to the federal government. They've been messing around with this immigration policy for over 30 years, and they still don't have an
So-
agreement.
But who's
And
determined
we're-
that
we're-
we're the port?
Well,
Who's
the
determined
federal
that-
government has, and
Okay.
they've picked several cities here in Texas, and also in the other border
Wow.
states, that they're just collecting these people, taking them to like San Antonio or El Paso and other border cities, and just dropping them off.
But I
And
did-
so what we're having to do is volunteer organizations are trying to at least feed them,
Travis
clothe them,
Park Method's been
give
doing all that.
them some kind of tickets to get to the destination city that they're supposed to go to apply for amnesty.
But they're supposedly sick with Ebola and diseases
Well,
they say, well, no, we
Let me
have.
tell you, I heard
know?
this fact. The assistant city health director, I heard her say 2 weeks ago that they have certification that these people have been vaccinated. They haven't been because, number one, the Congolese can't even speak English,
Well,
and they have no French interpreters.
she had a press conference and she laid everything out about the people coming from Africa. And, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert in that field. I have to rely on what she says and what our health department says. But, again, none of this would be happening if our federal government would
Took
straighten it up and get our immigration policies
What can
straightened
the
out.
state do, Representative?
Well, an example of that, I fully agree with Councilman Perry, and I applaud the governor, lieutenant governor, and speaker of the House holding a press conference last week, sending 1,000 troops of
Yes.
our state National Guard down to assist on the border.
Yes.
During my campaign and during the session house, really, education and taxes were primary issues.
Yes.
But not too far behind that, people here are concerned about border security and
Yes,
immigration. We've
definitely.
got to get a handle on
We've
that.
got, and here's the thing. Only one network sent anybody, Laura Ingram sent a French-speaking reporter down here last week. He interviewed several Congolese until they refused to talk to him. He told Laura on the air that he saw this one Congolese pull out a roll of $100 bills and start handing them out to the fellow Congolese who couldn't speak English. He also said, and my source told me, that they were the most arrogant and unthankful people in the entire group. They would demand, they'd push other people out of the way. They also would take maybe 2 or 3 at a time, put them on an airplane without any ID. No, we are required to show picture ID, right? You have to have ID before you get on a plane. They would put them on a plane without any IDs of any kind.
So what
Can
do you
you
think
imagine?
about that?
And they haven't bathed in days because there are no shower facilities down there.
Well, and the big issue that's an increasing concern, and we spent a good deal of time on the legislature this year dealing with is human trafficking and the trafficking of women and children. That is a serious, serious problem.
They just arrested some last night.
Well, let me just talk a little bit about that because, while I was in Washington, D.C., I was meeting with a lot of human rights organizations, met with a woman by the name of Alma Tucker. Alma Tucker has safe houses in Mexico City, in Tijuana, one very unique safe house for little boys because they don't have any. And she said, if anyone does not believe that the human trafficking is significant, it is in the hundreds of thousands of people that have been trafficked. And, because while I was in DC, I met with, groups from the city. I met from groups from different states. States like Montana, Michigan have significant numbers of human trafficking going on. People don't think it's going to happen there. It's a big point of transfer is in Houston, Texas, where we have human trafficking. But what I found profoundly just shocking is that there are so many people that don't want to accept the fact that there really is human trafficking. And they make it look like we're just being biased, bigoted, racist, discriminatory, and they're not protecting the innocents.
Exactly. If I just use an example, at the start of the session in January, a border organization made up of the education, chambers of commerce, business interests, invited a group of legislators to go and visit different aspects of the border community because it's a thriving community in South Texas. And one thing they took us to was to the border and to the wall. Although the state has no control over the wall, they wanted us to see it. And despite what the mainstream media, so to speak, will portray, there was a problem down there. And from top to bottom, we heard from the very top of the Border Patrol down to the Border Patrol agents walking the dogs in the produce areas. And without exception, every one of them said what a problem it is. We have to address it. And the biggest problem is trafficking and the use of young children, and particularly little girls, for trafficking. And what they'll do is because whether it's the cartels, the traffickers, or both, or more, they'll take advantage of the family appearance. So they'll use a child and they'll come across with what appears to be a family. But then when the child comes across the border into Texas, the child is passed off and taken back across to Mexico
and be used again.
And done again. And it came to light. One of the Border Patrol agents was describing, he said, one day we noticed there's this cute little girl. And I turned to another agent and said, didn't we see her just a few days ago? And sure enough, that's what was happening. And that has got to stop. And fortunately, I believe, this session, we passed a law to make that a crime. If you fraudulently give the appearance of a family.
It can make a crime, but the bottom line is it's still going on. Those kids are so damaged, Steve. It's terrible. This woman, Alma Tucker, that I met with at Rocio Orozco, oh my gosh, Lynn Shaw, Andy Berger. I could tell you the list of all the people, Aaron Andrews, all these. I mean, I met with groups, and Congressman Pete Olson, our mutual friend here from Houston, has said that we're going to try to have a halt of the stopping trafficking, human trafficking in Washington, D.C. We know we'll have it either from the steps of the United States Capitol, or we might have, if we can get it, we'll go to the Lincoln Memorial.
Yes, but here's the thing: we've had 20-some candidates in the last 3 nights in the debates. No one has really addressed this problem, and we have.
They don't want to.
And Mr. Castro, he hadn't recognized it. Beto hasn't recognized it, and so we've got to find a way to do this, or we're going to be in deep
We
cockpit.
are.
Excuse the term, everyone.
But still like us on YouTube, our brand new YouTube channel. And don't forget, we are sponsored by John Lester Insure.
You can be assured if you have insurance with
That
John.
is correct, Mundo.
Yes.
That is very correct.
And we have so many problems going on in our country. Yesterday, in fact, I saw it before I left for breakfast this morning. In Minnesota now, they've had some agencies that say they're going to drop the Pledge of Allegiance from meeting beginning.
Do you all ever have to worry about that at the city council and the state house?
No,
No, in fact, I find it ironic in the House of Representatives, every morning we started session with prayer.
Yes.
There was a pastor of the day. Every morning we started with a pledge of allegiance to the United States flag and to the Texas flag. And in each and every one of our desks is Bible.
Wow.
That's amazing.
It is.
I mean, that has not been mentioned on any of the national media either.
No.
And it won't be.
And I bet a lot of people don't know this. I do, because I was a tour guide at that state capitol. Did you know that the speaker and the lieutenant governor have an apartment and that where they can stay?
The Lieutenant Governor doesn't any longer.
No
There
more?
was a under Lieutenant Governor Hobby, there was a fire.
Oh dear.
And when they repaired
Yes,
it,
I remember
they
that.
turned it into a large conference area rather than the apartment. But the speaker has an
Speaker
apartment right
and-
behind the dais.
And you know why they did that?
No.
Because when Sam Rayburn was the speaker, he wouldn't go home until the wee hours of the morning, and they got tired of finding him asleep on the floor there. They decided to build him an apartment.
Well, I will also tell you this, that Joe Strauss Jr., when he was 16 years old, was one of my first statisticians in high school football.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, you probably could recuperate and kind of get him back. And you'd probably be loving to
I'm
do
na-
that
I'm
job now that
recruiting for this
Steve has
fall.
got this, wonderful new job. Strauss is sitting around thinking, I wonder if I could go talk to Gary
I bet
DeLaune.
you can. But also, I just have to throw this out. I've had a lot of people talk to me about these. And
Okay.
because I've given the money away, but these are 2 albums because Rick Griffin is such an advocate and expert on the Kennedy stuff. He's reading it. But these are 2 albums that Lou Houck put together for me.
That you did. This is your coverage.
My coverage, this is The Fateful Hours, the Kennedy assassination. And this is Jack Ruby's 11th Hour, which these were all my own tapes when Jack was doing his thing in Dallas. And Chris Maru sent me a bunch of stuff yesterday
Oh,
on the
that's
internet.
wonderful.
And
Cool.
so, but if you're interested, you can contact me and we'll sell these to you for, I think Lou's got a price of $14.95 for both of them, which is pretty,
Well,
it's just
that's
the
great.
cost of printing them.
Shipping and stuff.
But this is The Fateful Hours, the actual assassination coverage. And this is the thing that I had with Jack Ruby. And
So how do they reach you?
they can do it. Should I put out my, I guess I could do that. If you're interested, 406.
Do it, let
No.
them know
No.
through the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And what else, Rob?
They can ask through the YouTube channel.
You can
and
ask through this.
They
Okay.
could comment in the YouTube channel and you can
So
contact.
just have to get on YouTube channel.
On our
We're
new
getting
YouTube
instruction from our producer.
That's okay. They don't care. This is real life broadcasting, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, as Gary's longtime friend and associate when we worked at Ken's back in the day, these are wonderful. And you hear about really actually excellent.
And
Excellent
it's being
journalism.
brought up again, time and time again. And by the way, next month will be Jim Lavelle's 99th birthday.
Wow.
He is the man that was handcuffed to Oswald, the last survivor of the police force in the
Isn't that
basement.
amazing?
That is.
And I'm trying to get Dory Wiley in Dallas. He's a big holding company to provide a party for Jim Lavelle on his 99th birthday. He was also a survivor of Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
So he's one of my dearest
He's a
friends.
twofer.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So, but anyway, we're glad to have Clayton back with us.
Yeah, Clayton.
Congratulations again for the big victory.
Absolutely. That was great. I was very surprised. You're in the back of your mind, you always have those doubts, and when
But
you're
you won by
campaigning-
overwhelming.
You
Well, yeah,
won like
yeah.
65% as soon as
Yeah.
it was like immediately.
Well, I know, but you
Your
still have those
party-
doubts until
People, yeah. And everybody else is going, please God, let that 1% come in for me. He started by this time 5 hours into his party. You
But the
beat
thing about-
everybody.
it was
And-
great. It was great.
With John Courage and Clayton, this is the first time, I think, in the history that we have a majority of women on the council, right?
Yeah, well, it's not majority of women. There was one other time in 2009, I think it was, where we had 6 women, but it wasn't through election. One of them was
Appointed.
appointed.
Mhm.
So there was a majority of women on the council back then, but this
Well,
time
here's-
they're all elected.
And I would say it's the only woman at this table. It is not about the gender. It's about the agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Absolutely.
what was refreshing to hear, and there's a lot of them celebrating that it's all women, but there's just as many saying, hey, it's about the issues and what we bring to the table,
Well,
not that we're a female or not.
And the Brockhouse controversy will continue to live on. I don't know for how many years, but it's always going to be talked about the election of 2019.
Well, it was close. It was close.
Yeah.
2,500
Yeah.
votes difference between Nuremberg and Brockhouse. So
Very
it was
Amazing.
close. He made it a close race, and a lot of things were said and done. That's politics nowadays.
Pretty dirty.
Yeah,
Sure.
and you have to be prepared for that if you get into a public race.
But you also have to congratulate guys like you who and all of the candidates, everyone that's running, because it takes a lot of guts. You think, do I really want to put myself through this nonsense? Do I
And you-
really want to have the press
You're
coming after
exposing
me?
yourself and your
Exactly.
family.
I think
too,
we need to have a coat of armor for these two guys.
Absolutely.
Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill fought like cats and dogs in Washington, but they would go out for dinner together at night. We don't have that same camaraderie of running the country. They're not interested in running the country. They're interested in their own campaigns.
Well, they're
and their own
interested in
egos.
power is what it's
That's
all
it.
about. It's
That's it.
about if I help you or, and we don't, that's the main thing I think we have on this trafficking issue. Everyone realizes it's not right versus left, it's right versus wrong,
Mhm.
but they won't help because of the power issue.
That's one thing that was refreshing to me coming into the legislature this year, and the issues drove it because we were all of us like-minded. We had to do something with taxes and had to do something with school finance, but the bipartisan approach to not just those issues but others,
Yes.
so totally foreign to what we're seeing in Washington, where the Republicans and Democrats in the House, and to maybe a lesser extent in the Senate, were very collegial and worked together for a common purpose. There are certain issues we were at opposite ends of the pole on. And we'll always
But
be
you
there.
haven't had in Texas, at least I haven't noticed it, maybe because I'm not watching it every day, but the vitriol, the hate that is displayed in the national races.
Well, it's
And-
interesting watching the debates right now where they're already trying to take down the big dog. They
That's
want to
right.
get rid of Biden, that's for sure. And Kamala Harris, I think, probably did a pretty big hit on him on that one. But the interesting thing also is seeing some of the local talent. Joaquin Castro, I'd rather Julian did very good, very well. I guess they're putting him up like number 4. And Beto, who memorized that little line in Spanish, God bless him. But somebody should have trained him not to sound so agringado, which means like he's got an American accent to his
Well,
Spanish.
you'd have thought that Mr. Booker
Everyone's
was,
afraid to say that too.
you would have thought that he had been there with Julius Caesar speaking Latin,
Well, yeah, he
E
probably
pluribus
was.
unum, he doesn't even know what that means.
Well, I
So-
know. It's a don't bring your dagger to the table.
I guess so.
But honestly, can somebody? I mean, everybody's been like terrified to say that Beto has a bad Spanish accent, and if he's living in Juarez, for crying out loud, there's got to be somebody that. I mean, they trained him to memorize it. I could see him thinking, okay, he's trying to remember that line. I wonder how long he remembered that line for. Gosh.
Well,
Oh well.
but
You guys are being nice. I'm telling it like it is.
it was on this date in 1956. Changed subject, gave it more of a lighter tone.
Okay.
Marilyn Monroe married Arthur Miller. Can you believe that?
Well, that wasn't a light tone. He was a pretty heavy duty guy. What
Oh,
was
well,
he? What was
he
the
had a
movie?
good, he had a big pen. So,
What was I'm trying to think of some of the movies and the books that he wrote. Arthur Miller. Come on, everybody.
well, how not to
Come
stay
on.
married for 5 years? That was one of them.
Well, she wanted to be known as a brain, not just a body, but
Norma Jean Mortensen.
Norma Jean Baker.
Well, Mortensen was too, or also
Well,
her.
I don't know who Morrison was. Everybody knows it was Baker, but it's okay.
I've heard of Marilyn Monroe. That's all.
Yeah.
Don't
And you
this
know
other
what?
guy.
She'd heard of you, Clayton. And she'd be here
Yeah,
today
yeah,
to congratulate you
I'm
for
sure.
winning the race.
I'm sure.
And for you, for winning your race, you have some big shoes to fill. And when you have the Speaker of the House that you've replaced, I mean,
Yes.
that's a lot of responsibility for you.
It was, you know, I wasn't stepping into the speaker, fortunately. And,
Well, you will eventually, but right now you got the
No.
seat, which
Yes.
was that the people in your district had a lot of respect for you to give you that win.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Now,
We
now
worked hard.
you were how long on the Alamo High School Board?
12 years.
Well, that was not always easy either.
It wasn't. It was a good, you know, I think if you have good parental support.
Oh, what a great school Alamo Heights is.
And a good school board where like-minded moving towards consensus. And you can
This
do
is a
wonders.
question that some Alamo Heights residents have asked me, though. Why in the world did they decide to tear down the football field, the gymnasium, and the other athletic facilities all at the same time? There won't be any home games this year at all.
Well, the football field, the stadium's going to be all right. There's going to be some improvements there, but the basketball,
It's gone.
it's
The
gone.
mule bomb.
And that was a bittersweet. It needed to go, but
The days of Charlie Bogus are gone.
yeah, they are.
People are
Well-
still grieving in Alamo Heights for the eyes box being gone.
Yes.
People have a long memory in Alamo Heights. They don't like things to go.
No,
And of course, they got beat in the first round of the playoffs in soccer this year, but they've had some tremendous soccer teams over there,
teams,
state championship
tennis
teams.
teams.
And of course, Coach Arcala resigned last month, so they'll have to have a new soccer coach.
Yes.
But it's very difficult to go from kind of a small school district into the largest legislative session in the country.
It was a challenge, but you know, in the district, it's also Northeast Independent School District is also a major part of this House district.
Yes,
And that's a growing challenge district. It was about to be subject to recapture like Alamo Heights and like so many other districts in the state. But under the House Bill 3, the Finance Reform Bill, there will be no recapture in Northeast next year.
well, and in Alamo Heights is somewhat like Northeast. There's no place to expand. I mean, you got North Side building school after school after school because of the territory that it
Yes.
includes.
No,
Alamo Heights is locked
landlocked.
in, Northeast is locked in. So, trying to keep those school districts in march with the other school districts.
And then they're growing so much.
Yes.
There's 5.5 million students in the state now. So it's an increasing task to serve all those needs. And there's such a wide variation of needs that I think the school finance bill addressed. So we get
How are the ones that you know about, how are they stacking up with the educational aspects of the other districts in the state? I know Alamo Heights is considered one of the best, but
and Northeast is. There's challenges within all districts, but I'm proud that Northeast and Alamo Heights are doing well.
All right, I have a question for Clayton.
Yes, ma'am.
What's coming up for District 10? What can we expect coming up big from District 10 that you're gonna?
Well, I'm still going to be focused on property taxes, safety and security, and infrastructure. Those are my three key. And you could go across the district. That's what everybody wants. They want to be safe.
Right?
They want lower property taxes, and they want good streets and drainage and that kind of thing. So those are the
Basics.
priorities. So that's what our real core services are here for
Yep.
the city. There's going to be a lot of pressures on the budget, and I'm going to still focus on those core areas that's what I campaigned on, and that's what I'm going to continue to put
That
emphasis on.
got that big win that happened like immediately after they closed the polls.
the
Yeah,
largest
well-
margin of victory of anybody running for office.
And
It
he said
is-
he was
it was
worried.
right
Yeah,
there.
he's trying to be humble.
But here's the
Right.
thing, also, what complaint that I get, number one complaint right now, is you can't go on any major thoroughfare or freeway without just running into terrific traffic jams. because of construction.
That's a big thing. I'm going to be working with, I've been now put on the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, that we prioritize our street systems, our freeways.
Amen.
That's
Needs to be done.
that's funded by TxDOT. So I'm going to focus in on, and you're going to hear more and more about this. TxDOT has underfunded our San Antonio district, which is a big district around, captures a lot of population, not only Bexar County, but surrounding counties as well. But we've been underfunded $8 billion compared to Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, and Austin.
Now, let me
$8
ask
billion
you this.
we're behind.
How do we get it?
Steve and
And
I,
that's what I'm going to be after, Gary, is I'm going to be working whatever I can to put pressure on to get some additional
Good.
funding through TxDOT here, because there's other knock-on effects about that, because you're going to hear more and more about the mayor's Connect SA, where he's going to be looking for other funding sources within San Antonio, additional taxes, moving funds from one taxing district to another to fund our own transportation and
okay, but here's the thing I
upgrades to our
want to ask.
mobility.
Look, when I was on the VIA board, because you and I were there together different times, there were only 4 of us on that board that wanted to support light rail. And the interesting thing about it at that time was the federal government was going to give us matching funds, but we couldn't get the other members of the board to support light rail. There were only 4 of us. I can prove that one. And I don't know why at some point we can't do something to encourage light rail to finally happen in this town.
BQ, I try to support that as much as I can, but when it comes down to it, San Antonio is not laid out for light rail. It's not. We're too spread out.
Costs too much money.
It costs too much money for land acquisition, and the infrastructure that's required to put light rail in is billions upon billions of dollars. We don't have that kind of money. If we had more Fortune 500 companies here in San Antonio, maybe so, but we do not have that industry base and business base to support light rail. Now we're looking at other options out there, but again, that all comes back to, where's the money going to come from? Is it going to come out of local funds, or are we going to try to capture more money from TxDOT, to bring in additional dollars for like 1604, 35, I-10, those major thoroughfares that are, what I tried to explain to folks up at the Capitol, including Steve, is that San Antonio is really on the bubble. We're not like Austin.
No.
We're not like Houston. We're not like Dallas. I consider those have fallen off the edge of the cliff. You can't fund enough money to get them out of the position they're in.
That's true.
San Antonio isn't there yet. We're not over the cliff, but we're right on that bubble that if we could get some additional help now, that would keep us from going into Austin, Dallas, Houston. So why not invest a little bit more in San Antonio, because we've been underfunded $8 billion over the years.
Do you
And
agree with that
help us out
on the
here.
light rail?
On the light rail?
Mhm.
No, I agree with Councilman Perry's assessment that we need to do more with TxDOT and with the federal government. And I think we've started that dialogue, and we're seeing some improvement already and more focus on San Antonio that's long overdue. We had a number of projects, but the number of projects did not equate to the amount of dollars that went to Houston and Dallas, and we need to reverse that. When I came off of VIA, while I was on VIA, the projections are staggering what the population of San Antonio is going to become in the next 20 years.
Sure.
And we don't have the infrastructure right now
No, we don't.
to handle our current needs, let alone what's going to happen in the next 20 years.
So who is the visionary that fixes that?
I think we're going to have a cooperation between city, state, and federal government, and I think we can get there, and we need to. 281 is being addressed initially. That project's going along well. 35, 1604 needs
And
more
10
attention.
should be finished in the next few months.
It should be, yes.
Yeah. And let me, but going back to the sports world just for a moment, AAA, we do not have a AAA stadium yet. And if we had a stadium with AAA play facility that could accommodate a larger crowd, like Round Rock. That's a beautiful stadium up there. You've been there.
Yeah.
So what is the latest on that particular aspect of sports in San Antonio?
I love this. We go from transportation to sports, which I don't have a problem with. I can tell you.
We got to get there first.
Yeah.
And I want to come back to transportation.
Yeah,
that
we
We're running
have
out of
not,
time here.
we
yeah,
have not,
right.
we haven't been approached by anyone about a new stadium.
No, some more fun approach.
Not officially.
Unofficially, that's the term.
We're
Somebody on the side,
still
unofficial.
waiting on, what they want to do,
Mhm.
where they want to place. That's a big issue. Is where would you place that facility?
They've already
Would you
missed
keep it?
several
would
great
you-
opportunities.
Yeah. Would you keep it down way on the south side, or
No.
would you move it closer to downtown?
You got to put it where your
Northeast,
income
where-
is.
Opinionated.
Where are you going to put it? So I think that's the big issue right now, is where would this stadium actually go? Where's the proposal to put it?
And we want to thank all of you for watching us on our new YouTube channel. We also want to encourage you to please subscribe and like us. It helps when you like us.
Hit it.
And,
Like.
and also there's a little thing on there that we'll send you a message to let you know when we have new additions, and tell all your friends. And also tell all your friends about John Lester Insurance. LesterInsure1.com for your home, for your car, for your family, for your health, for your dog's house, for everything. He's got everything. And you know what's great about John Lester's insurance company is you say, well, we already have one. No, he works with all these companies to be able to get you the best deal on an affordable insurance policy that will work within your budget and for your coverage.
He even has Safeco insurance, which happens to be the home baseball park for the Seattle Mariners, a beautiful Major
here we
League
go.
ballpark.
We know
Safeco.
it's coming
So,
back.
There we
Wait till
go.
he starts to talk about
And
transportation again.
Also, we are the largest city in the nation without an NFL team.
And I'm going to grab that
No, you're not,
card.
because you have
All
the
right.
glasses on.
That-
You can't read it. You have to let me
I
tell
know,
you.
it's all right. I can
Yeah.
say it from my head.
Welcome back, Blanquita.
888-380-9059.
You're bossy.
I'm trying to make sure that John
Oh.
Lester people are calling him.
Yeah.
I am bossy.
Oh, this is fun.
Well, we do hope. you-
But yes, we have no NFL team. We have no Major League Baseball.
Mhm.
No soccer, no Major League Soccer.
Mm-mm. Austin got that.
Got
Austin
great
got that.
Mexican food.
Let me tell you, Clayton Perry's thought. We don't have it, and we never will get it. None of those, because we compete with Houston and Dallas on each one of those.
Well, Jerry
And
Jones didn't want
those,
us to.
they will not approve
Yeah.
an expansion team here in San
Neither
Antonio.
will Tom
Any of
Benson.
it.
You know
Tom
what's
Benson.
hilarious that you all can't see are the people here and are surrounding us that are agreeing with him and nodding their heads. That's hilarious.
Well, don't forget, you mentioned soccer. In October, one of the greatest soccer matches in San Antonio history, Argentina against Mexico. They sold 300,000 tickets the day before yesterday after they made the announcement.
Okay.
So that's a lot of money.
Did you
Yeah.
buy one?
You kidding me?
We went through that entire
He's gonna get invited for free.
He'll be sitting on the front line for nothing.
By the way, we're going to be starting on football. It's similar to what we're doing right here. We're going to be doing it on the network.
On
And
YouTube.
we start in August, 18 games plus the playoffs.
Nice.
And can
Are
I
you
say
gonna
that?
are you gonna come back and visit us again after you all have been through this ordeal today, Steve?
Sure.
I know
Enjoy
Clayton will. Clayton,
I'll be back. I'll
we
tell you
count
what
on
I think.
Clayton. We
You better ask me if
count
I'm
on-
coming back. Gee whiz.
What do you think? I know you're gonna be back. I thought I'd get a better welcome home.
Rob just fell off his chair over there.
Uh,
And John just went to sleep.
He did. He said this is the closest thing to taking a nap. But you know what? We really appreciate you joining us here today on our first adventure on YouTube. And we hope that you'll like us. And, tell us that you like us, even if you're kind of iffy. 'Cause you're
Lie
gonna-
about it. If you
You'll
want.
love us later.
You can be a Democrat. You can lie to us about it. You know.
And you can, what's not to love about
Oh,
Clayton
wait,
Perry?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I am nonpartisan. I'll
He is
be that. I am
non-stinking
nonpartisan
partisan.
on city council.
No, we're glad to hear it.
And you know what? And he's not trying to do an imitation of Beto's horrible whine in Spanish.
Nope.
No,
¿Cuánto cuesta para comprar una bota?
this
That
is
was-
nicht sehr gut, mein Fräulein,
It's
ja?
ridiculous.
Yeah. Jeez.
Anyway,
Wohin gehen Sie?
Thank
I have
you.
enough trouble with English.
Yeah.
Darling, we just found wonderful that you joined us.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you
thanks,
so
Steve.
much
This
for
was
having us,
Good to
Steve.
see you. And you know, I don't know how many great football teams Gary Patterson's going to have. He's a heck of a coach at TCU. I'll say that.
Yes.
And they had some beautiful co-eds at TCU when I was a young bachelor in Dallas. I can say that too.
He can say that now because they're not going to sue him. But if you're going to run for office, they will. Okay, I'm just saying it.
Well, I said beautiful co-eds. I didn't say anything about the other.
Oh,
sex.
here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Thank you for joining us today. This has been Lone Star Saturday on YouTube, our brand new channel.
And who are you?
I'm BQ, and you're Garrett.
I'm Gary DeLaune, Clayton Perry, Steve Allison, Rob Hicks, John
Lester
We thank all of you for
Lester
being
and
with us.
Sure1.com.
Do us a favor, hit that like because we like you.
We do.
See you next week.